Cassandra had spent the past 2 weeks gently nudging me to discuss some estate adjustments. That was her code for, sign over half your business, Jonathan. It's only fair. She said it in that soft, reasonable voice that almost made you forget the knife in your ribs. She didn't know I'd already rewritten the will. She didn't know I'd already sold 60% of the company to a holding firm under my daughter's name. She didn't know I'd been sitting on a flash drive with 87 gigabytes of video footage Benjamin had pulled from dash cams, gas station security. So when I said, let's invite Ben to dinner, she thought it was for the paperwork. I wore a suit. She wore a lie. She brought out the contracts after dessert. It's just a formality, she said, sliding the papers over. You trust me, don't you? Oh, I trusted her, like I trust poison to kill a man. Ben didn't reach for a pen. He reached for a remote. The projector blinked to life, humming softly like the room was holding its breath. Cassandra laughed nervously. What is this? Ben pressed play. The video was short, 27 seconds. Grainy, raw, undeniable. My brother. My wife. In my parking lot. Her car. His hands. The room went silent, except for the soft scrape of my daughter's fork against her plate. Then Ben, God bless him, stood. Adjusted his cuffs like he was presenting closing arguments in front of God himself. Ma'am, he said, placing a thick envelope in front of her, you are officially served for divorce. She paled. But he wasn't done. He turned to my daughter, Ella, 18, fierce, smarter than both her parents. He handed her a second folder. These are documents detailing the financial aid your mother owes your father for her college education. All accounts have been frozen. Ownership of the estate has been transferred. He looked back at Cassandra and Marcus, who had, until that moment, remained in the shadows of the evening like some damp parasite clinging to dignity. You both, Ben said calmly, have 24 hours to pack your things and leave the family estate. No shouting. Just impact. They say silence is louder than a scream. That night, you could have heard a heartbeat echo through the marble foyer. Cassandra didn't speak at first, just stared at the still image frozen on the projector screen. Her and Marcus, caught mid-act like bugs in amber. Her lips parted slightly, as if a lie was forming, but even she knew it'd choke on impact. Marcus, God bless the coward, pushed his chair back so fast it screeched like a warning siren. Bro, this isn't what it looks like. I looked him square in the eye, deadpan. You think I put a drone over your truck bed to catch you playing dominoes? He swallowed. Hard. His Adam's apple nearly leapt out of his neck. Cassandra finally spoke. Jonathan, this is insane. This is a violation of privacy, of trust. I leaned back in my chair, calm as a monk in a storm. So is screwing your brother-in-law in my company's parking lot. But here we are. Ella, bless that girl, didn't blink. She opened the folder Ben gave her and flipped through the pages like it was a college prep binder. Tuition invoices, direct transfers from my account to Cassandra's alma mater, even the lease agreement for the off-campus condo I paid for while she found herself. All signed. All real. I always wondered how she drove a BMW on a barista's pay, Ella muttered, not looking up. Cassandra turned sharply. Don't talk to me like that. Ella closed the folder with a snap. No, you don't talk to me. You lost that right somewhere between his back seat and your hypocrisy. Ben smiled at that. Just a twitch. Barely there, but I saw it. So did Cassandra. You set this all up, she whispered to me, her voice trembling now. You've been planning this. 6 months, I replied. That's how long I've been planning my escape from your gaslight plantation. She looked like I slapped her. Good. I wanted to believe it was just a phase, I said, standing slowly. Some stupid mistake. But you doubled down. You brought my brother into our bed in every way that counts. So yeah, I set the table. Now you get to choke on what you ordered. Marcus stepped forward, face flushed. You think you're better than us? All this money, this house, you think that makes you untouchable? No, I said. My principals do. I turned to Ben. Walk them out. Cassandra stood so fast her chair toppled over. This is my home. Ben calmly pointed to the paperwork. Actually, no. It never was. Jonathan's name is on the deed. Yours was scrubbed 2 weeks ago. Title transfer. You signed it yourself when you thought you were authorizing a landscaping budget increase. You didn't read the fine print. Bull. You should have used that law degree for something besides manipulating a man who loved you. I turned to Ella. Get your things. You and I are going to the lake house for a while. Ella stood, poised, head high. Let me grab Mom's designer bags. I'll leave them by the curb. Cassandra turned to her. You're taking his side? Ella didn't flinch. You weren't just disloyal to Dad. You were disloyal to me. Every time you lied to him, you lied to the life you claimed to care about. So yeah, I'm with him. Ben gestured to the front door. You've got 24 hours. After that, the locks change. The estate security has been notified. Marcus scowled. You'll regret this. I regret not seeing who you really were sooner, I said flatly. As they gathered their things, what little they had that wasn't in my name, I watched them like I'd watched strangers stealing apples from my orchard. Pathetic, desperate, small. They thought love was leverage. They forgot I came from a man who taught me to build and rebuild from the ashes. The lake house was always supposed to be a sanctuary. My father built it after my mother passed. Said he needed a place where the noise couldn't find him. A cabin wrapped in silence and pine trees. Back then, I didn't get it. I do now. Ella and I arrived just after midnight. The wind had picked up, rolling off the water like it was trying to tell me something deep, low, and old. The kind of language only a broken man could understand. She was quiet on the drive. Not angry, just processing. You could see the gears working behind her eyes. Her mother, her uncle, the life she thought she knew, shattered like cheap glass. I didn't speak either. We both needed time, space, a little cold air to let the betrayal settle. Inside, it smelled like cedar and old books. I hadn't been there in years, but everything was just where I left it. My dad's flannel jacket still hanging by the door. The oil lamp still on the side table, like he was just out getting firewood. Ella wandered into the kitchen and put on the kettle. That was her mother's habit, not mine. Strange, what sticks? She finally broke the silence. You really paid for her entire degree? She asked quietly, pouring hot water over a bag of Earl Grey. I nodded. Every cent. Even the LSAT prep. Back then, I thought love meant investment. She stirred the tea slowly. And she repaid you with a sex tape. I winced at the bluntness, but didn't flinch. Pretty much. Ella turned to me. I'm sorry. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw a version of myself I'd forgotten. The one before responsibility drowned me. She had that same quiet fury. The kind that doesn't burn wild. It smolders. Controlled. Calculated. Don't be, I said. Truth is a gift. It's just wrapped in a fist sometimes. We sat by the fireplace, not talking much, just listening to the wind whip across the lake. I lit a fire. She pulled a blanket over her shoulders. Then she said something I'll never forget. Mom always told me you were too soft. I blinked. Did she? Yeah, she said. She'd say it after fights. That you were weak. Passive. Said a man should take charge more. I smiled bitterly. Guess I finally took charge. Ella's eyes never left the flames. You were never weak, Dad. You were just good. There was a pause. Then she added. And she mistook your kindness for leverage. Exactly. That night, she went to bed early. I stayed up, flipping through my father's old journals. Reading his notes, his sketches. One stuck with me. A man's legacy isn't what he builds. It's what he protects when no one's watching. I closed the book, stared into the fire, and made a decision. The revenge wasn't finished. The next morning, I made some calls. Ben already had plans in motion. We weren't just going to kick Cassandra out of the estate. We were going to dismantle every falsehood she ever built on my name. First, I filed an official dispute with the law firm where she claimed to work part-time. Turns out she'd been using my business credit card as her expense account. Fancy lunches, spa treatments, even an overnight in Turks and Caicos, all listed under client development. Second, I called in an audit on the joint account I'd let her manage for tax purposes. She'd siphoned nearly $90,000 to a shell account Marcus set up under his gym business. They thought I wouldn't notice. They were wrong. But the third strike? That was poetic. I had my IT guy, a quiet genius named Mateo, dig into her cloud backups. Not just the affair footage. No, that would be too simple. He found something better. Cassandra had been secretly recording me. Audio clips, mostly. Moments where I ranted about business issues, competitors, political views, anything she could someday use as leverage in court or the media. Insurance, I suppose, for when she finally outgrew me. Too bad for her. Mateo found the raw files and the timestamps. Every file had metadata showing they were taken without consent. In most states, that's grounds not just for evidence dismissal, but felony charges. So I did what any gentleman would do. I forwarded it all to her firm's ethics committee. Blind copy, of course. Then I sent a final message to Marcus. Just a photo. It was a framed picture of us as kids, me holding his hand at the county fair, both of us smiling wide. I scribbled a note underneath. You could have had a brother for life. You chose 20 minutes in a parking lot. Good trade. No threats. No insults. Just truth. Let it rot him from the inside. They always come apart in stages. The liars, the cheaters, the architects of betrayal. First comes denial. The stunned disbelief that their house of cards isn't holding up. Then desperation. That's the fun part. Cassandra hit both within 48 hours. I was drinking coffee on the porch of the lake house, early fog still hugging the trees, when Ben called. He sounded chipper, the kind of chipper that usually came with legal bloodshed. Her law firm suspending her indefinitely, he said by way of greeting. Apparently, they're not fond of employees secretly recording their spouses while funneling joint funds into unauthorized accounts. Imagine that, I said, sipping slowly. Ethics still matters somewhere. She tried blaming you, of course. Claimed you were emotionally volatile and paranoid. Then someone forwarded them video of her in the back seat with your brother. That must have been awkward. For her. For us? It's Christmas morning. I smiled, watching a squirrel scurry across the railing. Keep it rolling. Let her choke on the truth she buried. Already on it, Ben said. We've initiated a formal petition to freeze her remaining accounts pending restitution. If she tries to move any of the siphoned money, it'll trigger criminal charges. And Marcus, your brother's gym is under audit. Turns out, using your niece's name to funnel $30,000 in consulting fees through a fake wellness initiative doesn't look great to the IRS. I chuckled. He always said he hated paperwork. Then he'll love prison, Ben said cheerfully. Anything else you want me to push? One thing, I said, standing to stretch. Find out where she was going with the Turks and Caicos trip. She booked 2 tickets. I want to know who the other seat was for. Ben paused. You think it wasn't Marcus? No, I said. Cassandra never put all her chips on one snake. That night, Ella found the letter. I was chopping firewood in the back when she came out with it, folded and yellowed, trembling in her hand like it had been holding its breath for a decade. Dad, she said softly, this is from Grandpa. I took it, confused. My father passed 12 years ago. I hadn't seen his handwriting since. It was addressed simply, to Jonathan, if things ever fall apart. I opened it. It read, Son, if you're reading this, it means something in your life is cracked. I can't stop that pain, but I want to remind you of something. You were not born to be used. You are not a wallet with feet. You are not a nameplate to hang someone else's ego on. People will break you for their comfort. Let them. Then rebuild. But when you rebuild, do it with dignity. And make damn sure they never get a seat at your table again. You don't owe anyone who smiled while they drained you. Let them watch from the curb. Dad, I didn't cry. Not because it didn't move me, it did, but because it centered me. My father didn't raise me to throw tantrums. He raised me to build, then to defend what I'd built. I folded the letter carefully and tucked it into the inner pocket of my jacket. Ella stood next to me quietly. You okay? I nodded. Yeah, I just got reminded of who I am. She smiled. I like this version better than the one Mom used to talk about. I looked at her. So do I. That night, the storm came. Not a metaphor. A literal storm, thunder, sheets of rain, the whole deal. The kind that rattles windows and wakes every ghost in the house. It hit just before midnight, and with it came a knock on the door. I opened it to find her. Cassandra, hair-soaked, eyes wide, not in fury, in fear. She was shaking. They froze my accounts, she said. My firm blacklisted me. Marcus won't answer my calls, and I don't know where to go. I stared at her like a man looking at a mannequin he used to love. Beautiful. Hollow. I don't care, I said simply. She blinked. Jonathan, please. I made mistakes. I got lost. But I'm still the mother of your child. I opened the screen door slowly. Exactly why I didn't press charges. Yet, she stared at me, realizing, maybe for the first time, that she had no leverage left. You used me, I said, stepping outside into the rain. You used our marriage, our money, our name. And now you're here because the wolves you fed turned on you. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Cassandra, I cut in, calm but sharp, you meant for me to stay stupid. That was your plan. She stood in the rain, mascara streaking down her cheeks. I watched the woman I once adored unravel in front of me. It should have hurt. It didn't. I took a breath. You have 5 minutes to walk back to your car. If you're not gone by then, I'll assume you're trespassing. You wouldn't. I already did. I shut the door. And this time, she didn't knock again. She didn't make it 5 minutes. I watched from the upstairs window as Cassandra sat in her car, parked sideways in the driveway like a drunk apology. Her hands gripped the wheel. I could see her shoulders heave once, twice. Then headlights lit up, and she was gone, swallowed by rain and whatever bridge she thought she could still cross. I didn't feel victorious. I felt finished. But like any good builder will tell you, finishing the demolition's only the midpoint. The rebuild is where the real work begins. The next morning, Ella came into the study with her laptop in one hand and a look on her face I hadn't seen since she discovered Santa wasn't real, equal parts fury and revelation. I found something, she said, eyes blazing. I turned from the fire and motioned for her to sit. I was digging through Mom's cloud archive, she continued. Most of it's garbage, receipts, spa bookings, clickbait articles she never read. But then I found a file labeled Gretchen. I raised an eyebrow. Who's Gretchen? Not a who, she said. A what? Gretchen's a shell company, registered in Delaware. Guess whose name is on the filings as a silent partner? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Marcus, she said. And not just him. There's a third name, Alan Chambers. That hit me in the chest harder than any punch. Alan Chambers, my father's old business partner. The man who'd helped Carr & Sons in its early years, then disappeared after a quiet falling out. I always thought it was over a money dispute. Dad never spoke of him again. I stood, suddenly cold. Alan hasn't been seen in over a decade. Ella turned the laptop to me. Apparently, he's been busy. Funding shell corporations, buying up property under dummy names, and, this is the kicker, trying to acquire majority shares of Carr & Sons through holding companies. The dots connected instantly. Too perfectly. Cassandra's sudden interest in having me sign over half the company. The timing of her affair. Marcus's gym being propped up despite having no revenue. It wasn't about passion. It was a hostile takeover dressed as a marital collapse. They weren't in love. They were in business. I sat down hard, the rage bubbling, but colder this time. Controlled. They were trying to steal the company. Ella nodded. And they failed. But Dad, this wasn't just betrayal. It was strategic betrayal. They were playing a long game. I stared at the fire. Then it's time to show them what it looks like when you try to burn a man who builds with stone. I made one call. To Curtis Wexler, my father's old accountant. The man who'd audited Carr & Sons for 25 years. Loyal. Quiet. Fierce when it came to numbers. I need everything, I told him. Every attempt to buy into the company. Every offer. Every shell entity. I want to see the entire web. Curtis didn't ask questions. Give me 72 hours. Then I called Ben. We were wrong, I told him. This wasn't just a scandal. It was a heist. Ben whistled low. And it almost worked. But they got sloppy. Most con artists do when they think the mark is asleep. I clenched my jaw. They forgot who my father was. They forgot who raised me. Ben's voice sharpened. So what's the play? We build a spotlight, I said. And we aim it at every rat on the ship. That night, I found something of my own. A matchbook. It had fallen behind the drawer in Cassandra's old vanity at the lake house, probably knocked loose when Ella was rummaging. On the front, in faded gold lettering, the Rivet Room, Private Lounge. Members only. Inside was a phone number. Local. Handwritten. I called it. A woman answered. Smoky voice. Tired. Rivet Room. Private line. I hesitated. Is Alan Chambers a member? Pause. Then who's asking? I hung up. But that told me everything. Alan was in town. Still running games. Still pulling strings. And I had his string now. I called Ella into the room. We're going to war, I told her. She didn't flinch. Good, she said. Because I've already picked out the soundtrack. The thing about parasites, they only thrive when you're asleep at the wheel. I'd been asleep too long. But now I was wide awake. And I had blueprints. Not just for rebuilding, no. This was demolition, phase 2. With names. With targets. With receipts. Alan Chambers, Marcus Carr, Cassandra, they'd lit the match. I was about to show them how a man builds a fire that doesn't go out. Curtis delivered. 3 days later, I had a digital folder in my inbox labeled Gretchen and Friends. Inside, a war map. Gretchen Holdings LLC, registered in Delaware under a false address. Connected to 4 sister corporations. Stonebird Advisory, run by a man named Rick Jerrison. A homeless addict paid $500 to sign the incorporation docs. Shellpoint Capital, which tried twice to buy minority stock in Carr and Sons Logistics under a different name. And finally, Vanguard Horizon, the umbrella group with a shadow consultant listed in small print, Alan Chambers. Every attempt to undermine me was recorded, traced, linked. But here was the twist. Cassandra wasn't just a pawn. She was listed as managing director on 2 of the shells, meaning she'd signed off on more than just fake expenses and forged affection. She helped Alan and Marcus launder funds through real estate investments. She'd moved money with them. This wasn't infidelity. It was racketeering. And she'd left fingerprints on the gun. I called Ben. I want to go public, I told him. Full expose. We release everything. The videos, the financials, the recordings. He paused. You sure you want to torture her like that? This could ruin her. She ruined herself, I said coldly. I'm just turning the lights on. Ben was silent for a beat. Then, I'll prep the release. Corporate lawyers will crap themselves when they see how many fake entities are tied to active investment firms. We both knew the power wasn't in court. It was in reputation. Cassandra was already spiraling, and Marcus? He was about to find out what happened when you mixed ego with a federal audit. Ella handled the social side. She was good. Too good. She spun a viral narrative like a maestro tuning a symphony. A TikTok thread titled, How My Mom Tried to Steal My Dad's Company and Failed Gloriously. She didn't show faces, but the details were razor sharp. The fake charity events Cassandra threw to launder funds. Marcus borrowing money for a gym he never opened. The burner phone hidden in her silk robe. A blurred shot of a video still. Not graphic. Just damning. A silhouette. A moment. A truth. Within 48 hours, it hit 1.2 million views. Comments flooded in. This is like Succession, but with cheaper wine. Your dad's a legend. Team Ella. Burn it down. Cassandra couldn't scrub the internet fast enough. Her name started trending in local searches. Then in the legal gossip circuits. Then in investor circles. The woman who once thought herself untouchable? She was now infamous. And Marcus? He panicked. I got the call at 2 a.m. from a number I didn't recognize. I almost let it go to voicemail. Almost. I answered. Jonathan, it's Marcus. His voice was raw, breathy, like a man who just realized the wolves were in the house. I made a mistake, he said. Alan, he played me. Said I'd get 15% equity if we took you out of the picture. Said you were too busy building warehouses to see the truth. I didn't respond. Let him talk. I told him you were distracted, that you'd fold under pressure. He offered me the Turks and Caicos trip, said it was a thank you for putting the papers in front of you. I smiled slowly. So Marcus was the second ticket. Not some affair vacation. Just a reward. A bonus for being a loyal trader. And now? I asked calmly. He's gone. Disappeared. Deleted his accounts. The gym lease got revoked. IRS showed up at my condo. Man, I'm screwed. He sounded like a man standing on a burning pier, watching the last boat float away. I need help, he begged. I'm your brother, please. I waited, then said 6 words I'd been holding for months. You're not my brother. Not anymore. And I hung up. That same day, I got a letter. Certified mail. No return address. Inside, a single page. Typed. Clean. Mr. Carr, we acknowledge your formal claim of fraud against Vanguard Horizon and its subsidiaries. Upon review of the documents provided, including tax filings, bank transfers, and video evidence, we have initiated proceedings to blacklist all related entities from future trading and investment activity. Your case has been referred to federal investigators for further prosecution. Thank you for your vigilance. SEC Compliance Division. I folded the letter. Exhaled. The match had been lit. Now came the fire. The wind changed the day the subpoena arrived. It didn't knock. It crashed. Cassandra was served publicly, right in front of her new temp job at a luxury boutique downtown. The video made it online within an hour. Her stumbling out of the store in heels too high for shame, clutching the envelope like a snake, just bit her. A crowd watched. No one helped. Not even the interns who used to flock to her for Instagram advice. Federal subpoena. Racketeering. Fraud. Corporate conspiracy. They handed her everything in a single manila folder, and she couldn't even hold it without shaking. I watched it from the lake house, coffee in hand, expression unreadable. Ella walked past, earbuds in, muttering, should have worn flats. Then came the letter from Alan Chambers. Mailed. Not emailed. A neat cream envelope, the kind you'd expect from a wedding invite or a black tie gala. No return address. Inside, just a typed page. Jonathan, congratulations. You played a clean game. I'm impressed. Truly. But don't let the applause distract you. There's always a bigger stage, always a higher floor. You cut me off here, but the tower still stands elsewhere. Walk away now, and we both leave with something. Push further, and you might start a fire that burns the whole forest. Your move. Hey, no threats. Just presence. The kind of arrogance that smells like silk suits and scotch over old money. I didn't flinch. Instead, I made a call to Ben. Send it to the FBI task force. Let them track the postmark. He thinks he's still playing chess. Ben sighed, impressed. And what are we playing? I stared at the letter burning in the fireplace. Reclamation. But it wasn't just Alan's letter that arrived that week. Ella found something else. She was cleaning out one of Dad's old filing cabinets, looking for backup property deeds, when she stumbled on a faded brown envelope, wedged between two audit reports from the late 90s. Dad, she said, holding it up. This was marked not to open unless Jonathan's the last man standing. I froze. We sat down at the kitchen table. No ceremony, just silence. Inside, we found a second will. Handwritten, notarized, dated 2 months before Dad's heart attack. It read, "To my son Jonathan, if you are reading this, it means Carr and Sons has made it into your hands, and others have tried to pry it loose. What you don't know is that I created a fallback, an emergency trust fund holding 27% of the company's preferred shares. Hidden, untouched, legally detached. It was meant to protect the soul of this business in case it ever got corrupted by greed or bloodlines that forgot what it meant to build. You're that protection now. The documents are with Curtis. Ask for Granite Tier. Password. Man's word is his bond. One more thing, son. Don't forgive betrayal. Not from kin, not from love. But don't become it, either. Reclaim what's yours, and then rise above it." Dad. Ella sat in stunned silence. "He knew," she whispered. I nodded slowly. "He always knew. I called Curtis. He didn't even hesitate. I was wondering when you'd finally dig that up," he said. "I've had the Granite Tier files under triple encryption for 12 years. You're the only one who could unlock it. Is it intact?" I asked. "Completely. The trust is clean. Fully funded. You now control 77% of Carr and Sons. No board. No vote. Full ownership." I exhaled like I hadn't in a decade. For the first time since Cassandra's hand brushed a pen toward my inheritance, I felt it. Stability. Not peace. That comes later. But the ground beneath me was finally mine again. We spent the next day reorganizing everything. The trust was folded into a new LLC, Carr Legacy Holdings. I rewrote the estate plan. Every dollar, every property, every clause. Ella's name? Front and center. Co-executor. Future CEO. And I left one line at the bottom of the doc. Signed, the last man standing. That night, I stood on the deck of the lake house, staring across the still water, whiskey in hand. Ella came out, hoodie over her head, arms crossed. "So what now?" she asked. I took a slow sip. "Now we rebuild. But on our terms." She smiled. "Can we make the new company rule no fake charity events and no idiots named Marcus?" I laughed for the first time in weeks. "Deal."